Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to hop on and do this video because I've been kind of sitting on this video idea for a week after I received a comment on one of my YouTube shorts that I wanted to respond to. And this comment was left on, I believe, my YouTube short about LGBTQ plus exhaustion in the wake of all of this anti-LGBTQ plus legislation. And a user named Jared Perkins left a comment saying, "Every day doesn't need to be a cause. Live your best life. All these things you mention will always be there in some degree or another. You are at the freest part of human history. Relax a bit. Most people in America are with you anyway." And with respect, of course, I think that Jared's comment is coming from a good, place of wanting to at least be a little encouraging, but also kind of have this don't worry about it so much mentality. And I get that. And it's a comment that I have received periodically, and I've seen other LGBTQ plus people receive periodically when they talk about issues like this. But I want to push back just a little bit. So, and I'm going to break this down statement by statement. The first statement of every day doesn't need to be a cause makes me a little bit frustrated because the truth is when it comes to literal people's well-being, it's more than just a cause. It's literally caring about community, okay? Oftentimes people refer to causes as things that are just being crafted out of nothing, and the truth is this isn't crafted out of nothing. There are literal states where anti-LGBTQ plus legislation is being passed, which ultimately makes those states incredibly unsafe for those people to live in them. So it warrants conversation. It warrants being addressed and talked about because that's community, right? We care about the well-being of people in our community. Now, the latter part of the statement where you say, live your best life, I could very well do that because of my privilege living in Michigan, which is very safe for LGBTQ plus people. I could just ignore all the horrible things happening to LGBTQ plus people in other states and just go along my merry way. I don't feel comfortable doing that because there are people that I know that I care about living in these states who are literally impacted by these things every day. And yeah, I may not be impacted by it, but I definitely care about those people who are. Call that self-righteousness, that's fine, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be a little self-righteous than not care about my community at all and pretend that nothing's happening. And I'm not suggesting that that's what you're doing. I do think that you care, based on the comment that you left, it does seem like you care. So I guess what's wrong with us having different levels of care, I guess? If you are in a place of privilege and you're not directly impacted by these things, then why should it be a problem for other people who are, or who know people who are, to be passionate about the topic and to want to talk about it? You then go on to say, all these things you mentioned will always be there in some degree or another. Okay, that may be the case, but why should those things go unaddressed? Why, when we see atrocities taking place, should we not address those atrocities and hold people accountable for the horrible things that they do? To me, if we just ignored that and glossed over it and just was well, it's always going to be there, there's zero progress in that, and people won't learn, and people won't accept communities, and it leads to a whole array of different issues. And then you go on to say, you are at the freest part of human history. Relax a bit. Most people in America are with you anyway. I do agree to some extent that we are at a point in history where there is far more acceptance than there used to be. But when you say that most people in America are with you anyway, I ask the question of why are there so many states then passing anti-LGBTQ plus legislation by legislators who were voted in by the majority of those populations in said states? So to me, that suggests that we really shouldn't be relaxing because there's still a fairly large swath of people who think these things and who literally think that LGBTQ plus people shouldn't exist or that they shouldn't have rights or access to rights. So I think it warrants conversation. And in conclusion, kind of like bringing all of this in full circle, I would very much consider comments like this to be kind of, again, like that bystander effect. Like, if you are a bystander, or even if you're an ally, and you don't really want to be bothered by the things that are happening to, the people you may care about, that's fine. Like, that's, of course, your choice. Not everyone has the bandwidth to be as vocal as I am, and heaven knows I don't always have the bandwidth to be vocal either. However, we have to think about the fact that while things may seem fine and we may not directly be impacted by things, that doesn't mean that there aren't people who are. So it's a matter of time before those things may impact us too. So why wait? Why wait for that to happen instead of actually taking action, or at least in the most basic form, like I do, try to have a conversation? I don't know if any of this makes sense. I just, this is just a message, and I've conveyed this message many times on my YouTube channel over the past few years. But if you are a bystander or even an ally who just doesn't really want to be engaged or involved in it, just keep in mind that there are people in your life who may not have any choice but be engaged and involved in these issues. Because if they're living in one of these states like Florida or Tennessee, where they are being directly impacted or stripped of their rights, they have no choice. They literally have no choice. And of course, people might say, well, then move away from those states. Cost of living. Think of how expensive things are now. Not everybody, of course, has the privilege to remove themselves from the situation like we might have. Anyway, I hope that this conversation was meaningful. Again, Jared, I do thank you for the comment. I don't intend anything negative in this response. I appreciate you initiating this conversation because I think it is an important conversation to have. Anyway, share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And hit like, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.